What up, folks? It's your boy Tim once again, aka Chicago in the corner. As you can see, the video is titled Eating Crow. I was wrong about Joe Biden. And you know I'm never wrong. You absolutely know that. Just check the comments. Daddy is never wrong. But before we get into that, I got to ask what I always ask you guys to do. I've been noticing my subscribers been going up a little bit. I'm not quite to that 1,000 mark yet, but I'm trying to get there. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you know when I'm dropping these gems. And once again, if you like what I got to say, go ahead and hit the like button. This one you're probably not going to like as much, but if you do not like what I'm saying, feel free to hit the dislike button and we can talk in the comments as 100% usual. Okay, I hate to say it, but this time looks like I was wrong on Joe Biden. Before we get into that, I'm going to say this is the way I was wrong, and this is the way I always have mentioned it. When I debate with right-wingers, I often bring up the point of crying wolf. And what crying wolf is you say something so much that it loses its value when you say it again. And that is when Obama got elected back in 2008, 2007 leading up to that, the big push from the Republicans was Obama's going to raise taxes to 70%. He's going to take away everybody's guns, and he's going to turn us into socialist Greece. That was what we could expect if Obama got elected. Well, after 8 years, taxes never reached anywhere near 70%. Nobody lost a single firearm, and we didn't come anywhere near becoming socialist Greece or a socialist country of any nature. So once again, this time we got Joe Biden coming up in 2015, or better yet, 2020, last year when the election was going on and the campaigns were going and there was a push towards getting Biden in once he became the Democratic nominee. What were they saying, folks? He's going to raise taxes, he's going to take away everybody's guns, and he's going to turn us into socialist Venezuela, because Greece has since recovered, so now they're picking the next country that's at the bottom, and it's Venezuela. So it was literally the same cry that we heard when Obama got elected being pushed towards Biden now. And my immediate pushback was, you're crying wolf, you're saying the same thing you said when Obama got elected. And what I call that's called Armageddon politics. When a Republican is elected, everybody, he's going to be a racist. You know, they got these different keywords that no matter what Republican wins, they're going to do this. And you're going to get rid of all welfare. They're going to do this. They're going to do everything they're going to do is instituted toward the rich and ignores the poor. Well, the same thing happens when a Democrat gets elected. And I just mentioned that all the guns are going to go away. Taxes are going to be increased. Open borders, you know, and we're going to become a socialist country. Well, I said it was Armageddon politics to just say that, but unfortunately today I'm eating crow. And I do have a nice plate of crow here that I will be eating. Joe Biden just passed, took executive action and passed some gun laws. Now, these are executive actions, which mean they didn't go through Congress or anything official. So, like with any kind of executive action, the next president can come along and sign it right out of law. Just like those who didn't like Obamacare, Trump immediately got rid of that. And for Democrats who didn't like the wall and things like that, Biden came in office and immediately got rid of that. That's the problem with passing executive action, is that the next guy can instantly undo it and flip things over. So you have to be, cautious about that. It is best that things go through the House and Senate. That is a lot more difficult because there's a lot more minds at play, a lot more back and forth and deals that got to be made. You're watching how the sausage is made, whereas when it comes to executive action, it's just one dude saying we need to do this, and he just does it. No matter how controversial it is, no matter how many people like it or dislike it, there's really not a lot to stop one dude from doing things. And that includes stuff like presidential pardons and, flipping over deals like with Trump flipping the Iran deal, things like that. People didn't necessarily like, but one dude can make a lot happen. And today, one dude, particularly one President Joseph R. Biden, passed. Here's what he won for in regards to gun laws. Now, being an individual who leans left, I see both sides of the aisle, and I see a lot of good things that come from the right as well as from the left. I thought Trump was a better president, or I thought Trump deserved a second term. However, I thought the things he done on Twitter and things like that made that, kind of made it a moot point. I think he did great things politically, but his mouth and his Twitter account made it so that it was probably best to get rid of him. Well, I'm just going to say that these are things, even though I lean left, I can see that about Trump. I will say that these are things that a lot of liberals probably won't have a problem with. So it's not like Joe Biden has passed a bunch of stuff and it's going to be hugely controversial. Because even though I'm saying I was wrong that he is coming for guns, the way he's doing it is not going to put as many people up in alarm, other than maybe the strong right-wingers and, of course, the NRA. First one is he wants to get rid of pistol stabilizing braces. Now, I didn't even know what this was, and I do dibble and dabble and play around with firearms on a very low scale, but I carry a car and things like that. But pistol stabilizing braces, what I thought it was a pistol with some form of stock, because they're saying that the brace allows the weapon to be more accurate, so you could do a lot more damage with a pistol. I assume, as opposed to having to go to a school or something to do a mass shooting where you want something with some accuracy to hit running patrons, running victims. You want something that's more accurate as opposed to a pistol where, any shot over 10, 15 yards becomes a difficult hit. Well, pistol stabilizing braces is something I did not know about. And what it is basically you take your pistol, you're going to be holding your pistol, and there's a rigid brace that comes and goes around your forearm and attaches to the gun. The issue with this is when you're firing a pistol, particularly anything that's smaller, like I have a little small Glock, a little single stack 8-round Glock. That's one of the weapons I have in it. It's hard to hold a thing from the recoil. I mean, you're firing 9mm rounds in this little small handgun, and you're going to get this type of effect. So it does have a big deal on your accuracy. What a pistol stabilizing brace does is it actually makes your entire arm become one with the weapon. So now you don't have this little light weapon that's flinging all around. The recoil has to be strong enough to move your whole arm. So it does allow you to be able to stabilize a little bit more and fight the recoil a little bit easier, as opposed to just using your palm, which is what you're holding the gun, and now you got all this involved and the weight of this. So now what you point at, you got the whole arm. So it allows you to have more accuracy, potentially hit more targets at a longer range. Now, I don't know a lot about pistol stabilizing braces. If anybody in the audience listening to this, any of my viewers that are listening to this, you want to chime in on this subject, this is where you can teach me a little bit, because I'm going to do more research on it. I had to actually look it up when he started talking about targeting it. I have not heard of a lot of people talking about using pistol stabilizing braces. I was under the impression if you're carrying a pistol, now we're not talking a long rifle. If you're carrying a pistol, it's primarily for self-defense. You get into a self-defense gunfight, you don't have time to put on a brace. If you're putting on a brace, you're showing up ahead of time expecting to be involved in a fight. And particularly one that may be of a little bit of distance where you want more accuracy. So I do wonder, what would be the legitimate purpose other than to really try to, inflict some mass damage with a brace? So I'm, as a left leaner, I'm fine with them targeting a pistol stabilizing brace, but I would assume that it's probably pretty easy to improvise something that, even if your car is being searched, the cops may not know what they're looking for. I mean, if you can, something where you can slide the butt of the gun out of it, take it off your arm and throw it in the back seat or something. If your gun's in the glove compartment or under your seat, they see that in the back, and they may not even be able to put those two and two together. I mean, do all officers even know about what these things are? I'm particularly talking about something that is homemade, not necessarily store-bought, where they can identify more. Next thing, he wants to reinstitute the assault weapons ban. Now, this is a very popular one among liberals. Obviously, just like I mentioned with the pistol stabilizing brace, assault weapons are by far more accurate, longer barrel, all of the things that goes along with that. So you're going to be firing far more accurate rounds. Generally, the capacity is much better. You're talking now 30 rounds. You start talking drums and things like that. It can be infinite. You even got weapons that have belt-fed weapons and all of that. So he wants to reinstitute the assault weapons ban. Now, the counterpoint to that is that there are some assault weapons that make for great home defense, and this is one as a liberal in me, and I didn't necessarily know as much. I brought this up in a debate, and I've seen videos where, yeah, they can be used even in close quarters, very accurately, and they definitely have less recoil because it's a bigger weapon and things like that. So they can be used quite well as home defense and self-defense. But nevertheless, the liberals want to ban them because they are also being used in a lot of mass murders, mass killings. I made a video earlier by bringing up that you can still do plenty of damage with a typical pistol that Joe Biden is not trying to target at all. I mean, if you got a pistol with 17 rounds in it and a few extra magazines, and you want to walk around in a Waffle House, or you want to walk around in Walmart, you can still rack up a high tally. I believe there was a Korean guy or an Asian guy several years ago that went to a college with 2 pistols, just 2 regular Glocks, I believe it was, and he scored a high tally of victims. That was a popular mass. Virginia Tech is the name of that one. You look up the Virginia Tech mass murder or school shooting or whatever it was. But he went to that college and killed a bunch of people with 2 handguns. So getting rid of the assault weapons doesn't necessarily alleviate you of people being able to commit mass murder. But nevertheless, that is a very popular one. We did have an assault weapons ban. I believe it was instituted under Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush allowed it to expire, but we have had that before. Next one, and this is a big one, and this is one I personally predicted would absolutely happen eventually. Handmade guns. He wants to definitely address handmade guns, if not ban them or come up with some type of way of where they have to be registered and all types of other things. You absolutely got to do something about this. From a liberal standpoint, only way I would think that you would be okay with, handmade guns that do not have to be registered, anything like that, is you would probably be okay with anybody having a weapon. Because if you can make it, shit, how you going to do any type of regulations or legislation on a gun? I mean, if I'm a felon and I know how to make guns and I want a gun, I'm going to have a gun. It's even easier to do that than buy it out in the street. So you just took a criminal always be the good gun on the street, that type of phrase, you just took it to another level and made it even easier. Well, now he just needs to learn how to make it. And he could actually not only get himself one, he could supply his entire clientele with them. So you also don't want, just like you have the drug dealers, you could have guys who have their own grow in their basement making weed or meth labs. Now you'd have gun labs, guy just simply making guns and selling them to anybody who shows up and wants to buy a gun. This could get to be very interesting, but he does want to address homemade guns. The last one is also one where the left-leaning side of me, I don't see any issue with it at all, and that is background checks. I mean, we all want to be legal gun owners. We all want to be law-abiding. You often hear it if you get pulled over by the police, or they just want to search your car, even if they don't have a warrant. Just let them. They're just doing their job. Why does the mindset change when it's the government wanting to do a background check? Well, because I don't trust him. But you trust the cop. He's part of the government. So if you're okay with, hey, this cop is just doing his job, let him search your car and he'll be on his way, then do the same with the background check. I don't see why these two things are any different unless you actually think that you're more likely to be dealing with a background check from guns. You don't have to ever worry about the cop searching your car. That's probably why some people view one okay and the other one they don't. But for the most part, if you're okay with one, you should be okay with the other one. The reason I have an issue with this, here over in the state of Iowa, where I happen to be right now, I travel all around, and I'm in Iowa currently. They just instituted a law here where you do not need a permit at all to own a weapon. Now, the gun lovers absolutely love this. Less government, no restriction to have weapons. Well, To buy a weapon from, say, a gun shop or federally licensed dealer, they do have to still have to run a background check on you. You don't need to have a permit. You no longer need to have the, firearms identification card or whatever. Like, I have that. I guess it's no longer needed. But the issue is with the bill that we do not like is they also made it so that private sellers are no longer required to run a background check on you. So what would be stopping me from, if I want to upgrade one of my pistols, I can just sell this one to whoever I want. I mean, even if I know the guy's a felon, or I know, one of my old boys from Chicago show up in the middle of the night, man, I need a gun. I got $600. Can you let me get one of your old? Well, by law, there's nothing requiring me to, to even say I knew knew anything about him. I'd have to do a background check. I didn't even have to ask him for ID. For all I know, he could be somebody that one of my boys told him, homeboy has some guns that he don't mind selling over in, Minnesota. And he shows up at my house in the middle of the night, and he shows up with the right amount of money, and I give him the gun. I didn't take any ID. So if the police, it ever does come up, and the police say, well, I didn't have to take ID. I don't know who he was. He was just a 6'6", light-skinned gentleman. That's about all I remember. So this law right here, in my opinion, leaves the door open for all types of problems. But at the same time, we know this is kind of what we want. We want to be able to own guns without the government having any record of it, being able to restrict it, not being able to know what you have or anything like that. And this is certainly leading in that direction where you could have anything, and the government's totally clueless until, maybe they walk into the wrong house trying to perform a search warrant, and the whole house is packing like David Koresh in the Branch Davidian. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm fine with you owning a weapon to protect yourself, to hunt. Got a little counter argument on the tyranny thing, because those are the three reasons you own a weapon. You own, well, for sport and all of that, but mainly the main reasons are you own a weapon to defend yourself and your family, you own a weapon to hunt, and the other one is to stave off a tyrannical government if our government gets out of hand. I'm not as much of a fan of the argument on the tyranny thing. We can talk about it in the comments if you want, but certainly hunting and protecting yourself, I'm fine with. And if you're just trying to do those things, allowing a background check shouldn't be that much of a sticking point. But unfortunately it is, and the main problem is because a large portion, I won't say all, because there's plenty of liberal gun owners like myself that don't mind, but a large portion of the gun owning community, particularly coming from the NRA and a lot of the right, believe that any sort of legislation involving guns is a stepping stone towards taking all guns away. So I'm just going to be against any law, because that's just the first point, the first law towards you taking all my guns away. So they're going to fight anything. And that's why even background checks and things like that get a lot of pushback. So I would like to know what you guys think. Like I said, this one should be a pretty easy one to predict. I know where the right's going to go, and I kind of know where the left's going to go. But I am willing to admit when I'm wrong sometimes, and it looks like, Joe Biden is coming for some guns. I won't say coming for all guns, but he certainly is trying to pass gun legislation. In fact, he just successfully did pass gun legislation, what we're talking about right now in this video. Who knows if it's going to be a stepping stone towards taking all guns, which is what you're probably going to hear. But yeah, he did pass some gun legislation. In regards to Obama raising taxes 70%, that has not happened, but Biden is raising taxes as well. It's still Armageddon politics, because he's not going to turn us into socialist Venezuela, and taxes under Biden is not going to reach 70%. He did increase some of he basically rolled back the huge tax cuts that were lauded under President Trump. The corporate tax cuts that, everybody was biggest tax cut in history. That's what Trump was saying. Well, he's rolled that back. But it's still fairly low. In fact, the corporate taxes under Joe Biden are still lower than they were under George W. Bush. So it's not like he rolled it, he instituted a whole lot of taxes. It's just that Trump had them pretty damn low, and any tax increase is just like a gun law. It's a stepping stone towards taking all of our money. Armageddon politics. So we'll see what ultimately happens there. But Once again, just like with the prediction I made that you're going to have to do something about homemade guns, you can't let that get out of hand. I made the same prediction in regards to Joe Biden raising taxes. I don't even think Trump would have done a second term, would have been able to complete a second term without raising taxes. There's just too much stimulus money's been given out. Now, keep in mind, Trump gave us $1,400. Then he gave us $600, which he argued should have been $2,000. So he clearly wanted to give us a lot more in stimulus money as well. And with him giving us the largest corporate tax decrease before the stimulus money, he was going to have to raise money eventually as well. I don't know if he would have been more intelligent about it, maybe did more willing and dealings, or made China pay us money, or Mexico pay for the wall, or some of these other things he was saying he was going to do. But fact is, we were going to need to replace all of the lost money given out in stimulus. There's been all types of debt and loan forgiveness right and left. You got people that are not even paying their rent and mortgage right now because the federal government even blocked that. And that happened under Trump. That did not happen under Joe Biden. He's just extending it. In fact, he's extending a lot of President Trump's policies, and it looks like including the wall. Biden is going to continue with the wall. So if I had an applause cue for my right-wingers out there, I would cue that in. But like I said, a tax cut was going to happen from any president. I just cannot imagine anybody coming into office after what has happened, a complete shutdown of numerous American industries, numerous taxes and things like that that have not been moving for over a year, and saying we can fix all of this without any tax increase and keep it as low as it is. I really don't think even Trump, like I said, with a second term would have been able to pull that off. Or when he left after 2 terms, it would have been disastrous and somebody else would have had to make that money back up. I just think that was going to happen. Once again, you disagree, let me know in the comments. So I'm going to end this video. Like I said, I'm willing to admit I was wrong. Joe Biden has indeed made a strike towards coming for guns. He has raised taxes a little bit, which not necessarily complaining about that as much, but I got to admit, yeah, the gun thing I was wrong on. He's coming for that. So what do you think is going to happen next? You think he's going to push us towards socialism, socialist Venezuela, where people are fighting for toilet paper and fleeing the country? You think that may happen here in America? They're fleeing California, but you think they'll be fleeing the United States as a whole in 4 years under Joe Biden, or 8 years under Kamala Harris? I don't know. It's very interesting to see, because we still haven't even been able to find out yet if Trump is going to run again in 2024. Real quickly, I am on the MAGA text list. I get their texts all the time, and they're still actively sending out a lot of texts. And they are selling a lot of paraphernalia that has Trump 2024 on it, pins and bracelets and things like that. So whether he's going to run or not, people are making money from his official campaign. This is not some Amazon site or some dude on eBay. This is coming from the same 8084, whatever the number, 88084, whatever it was. Used to have on the podium, text this number, and they would, you would be texting the Trump campaign. I still receive texts from that number, and they're selling a lot of MAGA 2024 merchandise. What do you think? I'm ending it right here. It's been long enough. Like to hear from you. Hash it out in the comments. Your boy Chicago out.